Hello! Thank you all for watching this. I'm honestly a little more excited to share this than some of my color stuff, mostly because it's fresher on my mind. It's like the aggregation and culmination of everything I've learned and experienced so far. Now, this is going to be my interpretation of it, and I'm going to base it off of the information I've explained in my earlier videos. So if you want the full context, I would highly recommend watching the rest of the series. Ego development theory is a theory that was developed by Susan Cook-Gruder, which was built upon the work of Jane Lovinger, and then further expanded upon by Ken Wilber and his whole theory of everything. It is a measurement of awareness, not necessarily IQ. I'm not a master of the theory, and I won't explain the entire theory here, but it proposes that as we age, from a child to adult to old age, we go through different egoic shifts as we learn and experience life. There are 9 different stages that we can potentially go through, and most people today usually end up around 5 or 6. Level 7 is actually the most efficient place to be. Going up to 8 and 9 actually doesn't mean that much. Level 7 is where we start thinking in systems, and it's where most of society and big corporations are able to move the forces that be. Now, what this means, being a bigger number in this system doesn't actually mean better or smarter, and each level is going to have strengths and weaknesses that others don't. Now, as I said, I'm not going to go too deep into the theory, but if enough interest is in it, I can give my interpretation later. Here, I only want to mention how the flow of thoughts and feelings ties into ego development, and how the greater the awareness we have of our ego, the more integrated we feel and become. Most of these jumps to higher levels happen naturally in life through trauma and self-healing. Most, but not all. There are some other factors that affect it, but that can be in another video if people are interested. Alright, so I did a video on the 10 layers of processing and the depths of how it gathers information. And I also did a video on the cognitive functions and how the brain tries to aggregate information down into a data point that then creates a structure. I then did a video on dopamine and how we decide, and how dopamine is the main chemical behind what sets our thought patterns into specific belief patterns. And the most important point of all is this: belief comes before logic. In order for something to be true, our brain, using dopamine, verifies it as accurate beforehand as an emotion. The only difference between what's true or not is whether society agrees with what has been perceived to be true in the world or not. But what all of this means is that our emotions are also data points in the flow of thoughts and feelings. This is our FI in action. On the surface in the 10 layers, thoughts are static and concrete, and emotions are just squishy and weird. But way deep in the processing layers, the logic points that create the cognitive function TI data framework are actually emotional data points. A TI framework is just an FI framework in disguise, because a TI logic point is powered by an FI emotion point. This is why FI and TI think very similarly. It's just that FI prioritizes the emotional aspect of this pathway, and emotions don't make sense, whereas TI focuses on the conclusion and the logic. TI tries to make it make sense. I digress a little. The key point is that as we go through life, and as we grow older and mature, and as we gather sensory data, we build a framework of data points that are powered by emotions. These emotions power core beliefs and values that were set from the moment of birth and how we were raised. These values can include spirituality, family, goals, and ideals. These emotional data points form values, which form ideas, which then aggregate to form a general set of beliefs, which then aggregate to form belief systems, which then culminate into an entire philosophy in how we think and understand the world. Remember how dopamine likes to set a structure to maintain an idea of pleasantness and harmony? The expected thing that's supposed to happen happens, and now you're a very happy person. Why would you want to change if everything is working the way that it is expected to work? Congratulations! You are now in a bubble of understanding. You are living in your own little world of your own framework of how an individual should live their life. This is very normal. But what happens when the framework breaks and the bubble pops? This happens two ways. The core belief or value powering the rest of the belief system cracks, or enough beliefs in the structure break, causing you to question your core beliefs. These breaking moments are what truly define the difference between the levels and how a person raises them, because in these moments you're forced to reconsider your life, your values, and why you do the things you do. As people grow and learn more data points are integrated into this belief system, which causes you to consistently have to reorient and change your views on life. At each grand breaking of a core belief, like switching religions, abandoning religion, changing political parties, dating, or even marriage, a new integration has to occur. This creates an entirely new philosophy. As you integrate more information, you start beginning to form a new core belief with new desires, hopes, dreams, and values. And you have to decide whether the data set that you have formed is either true or not true. You're constantly put into a scenario of dissonance. Is the new information true, or is this new information not true? If the information is deemed true, you integrate it. If it is deemed not true, you reject it. Then, as you integrate this new data set with a new core belief, your bubble of awareness expands. This is when your awareness officially increases. It just so happens that the way that people learn to integrate information and raise levels happens to fall in similar mental pathways with similar conclusions, with similar sets of behaviors, which is where the identifier happens. Alright guys, thank you all to everyone who has stayed and watched the entire series all the way through. I plan on going back to my original color and personality videos after this. I felt that it was necessary for me to make this though, just so that you can understand how much thought I put into this and where I'm coming from. This series isn't entirely over, by the way. If someone wants an explanation on something, I can always add more to this series if needed, but I think for the time being, I'll lay this to rest for the moment. Thank you all for watching, and keep in touch. Until next time.